Your first step to repair is to place the mirror inside under the brake. Next, you want to inspect the brake with the probe. Please don't use your finger, as you could cut your finger or contaminate the brake with your finger. Now you want to use the tip of the steel probe to clean the debris and the loose glass from the pit. You also want to check the size of the pit to make sure you can cover it with the tip of your injector. Use your steel probe to apply pressure or flex around the perimeter of the brake, looking for hidden cracks or water in the brake, and at this time dry out all wet brakes. Now mount the holding device by flexing the vacuum cup with the fingers of your hand and laying it against the surface of the glass. Center the hole on the holding bar over the pit. Now screw in the barrel centered over the pit until you have half the white tip surface pressed against the glass, creating a good seal. As you can see on my left hand, I'm lifting up the bar while I'm screwing the tip in so that it doesn't shred against the broken glass. Make sure that the vacuum port on the barrel is pointed up and tighten the black knob. Use your probe stuck down through the center of the barrel to double check to make sure you're centered over the pit. Load resin into the plunger by holding the bottle upside down on the end of the plunger tip and pulling the rod down while squeezing the resin bottle slightly. Slide the rod up and down to push the air bubbles out of the resin and fill the resin down to the threads on the plunger. Screw the plunger into the barrel to within 3/8 inch distance from the barrel. Measure this by using the large side of the little black depth key provided with your kit. The side vacuum port still remains open at this distance. Attach the vacuum pump hose to the side port on the resin pump and pull a vacuum until it won't go any higher. Without pumping, check to see if the needle is dropping in case you have a vacuum leak. If that's the case, reposition your injector over the pit. Deposit the resin into the tip by pushing down on the rod until the cap touches the spring. At this point, watch the resin flow into the brake as I pull the trigger to release the vacuum now. As the resin flows into the extremities of the brake, you'll see that the resin is replacing the air in the brake and clearing it up. Now we'll pull a second vacuum, drawing out air. You'll see little bubbles going towards the hole in the tip being drawn out of the brake. Release the vacuum and repeat until it's filled or the resin progress stops. Once the resin progress stops, detach the vacuum pump. At this point, we'll screw the plunger all the way into the barrel. Don't forget to pull the rod up a ½ inch to 1 inch before screwing it in all the way. Once the plunger is screwed all the way down, this seals off the side vacuum port, allowing us to build up pressure to fill the rest of the brake. Pressure in the resin by pushing the rod until the tip hole swells twice its size. And you can also pull the rod up to vacuum more air out. Repeat this pressure vacuum cycle a few times and then lock the cam lock to hold on the pressure cycle. To speed up the flow of resin into the brake, there are a few things you can do to manipulate. Use the steel probe to flex the cracks open again, allowing the resin to flow to the ends. Press and maintain a firm but steady pressure until the crack flexes open and hold at that point. As you can see, the resin will continue to flow, replacing the air in the brake and clearing it up. To restore 100% strength to the windshield, all gaps in the brake must be filled with resin or they will not hold. So don't give up, maintain patience, and make sure the resin flows to the very tips of the brakes. Now move your probe over to the other brake that still needs filled. Find the point that makes it flex open. Press and hold at that point, and you'll see resin starting to flow in. As it fills, patiently hold steady until the resin flows to the very tips. Then you'll be done. Between the pressure of the resin going into the brake and the flexing of your probe on the crack, you can see the little air bubble disappearing. Unlock the cam lock and pull up on the rod, creating a vacuum, trying to get more air out of the brake. Then push the rod in to create pressure again. Once you've determined the brake has been completely filled, before you pull the injector off, you can cure while it's under pressure. This freezes the resin in the tips of the brake and keeps it from backing out of the brake when you take the resin pump assembly off. The longer it takes and the harder it is to fill the resin to the ends of the brakes, the more reason there is to cure it while it's under pressure. For most brakes that fill quickly and easily, you can skip curing under pressure and go to the next step. Now you're ready to release the resin pump assembly from the windshield by pulling on the tab on the vacuum cup and covering the pit, trapping the resin underneath with the curing sheet. Cover the curing sheet with the curing light, and it'll take about 3.5 minutes to cure. During this curing time, you can work on other things or help customers. The resin is fully cured when pulling off the sheet has a tearing sound. Scrape the excess resin from the glass by using your razor blade perpendicular to the glass and scraping rapidly back and forth across the resin until all that's left is the small frosty pit area where glass was originally missing. Don't forget to remove your mirror from the inside of the windshield and polish the pit with pit polish using a soft cloth. This will bring back a glass-like luster to the pit area and the surface around it. Clean the entire windshield on the outside, and don't forget the work area on the inside where the suction cup from your mirror might leave a little wet ring. And then you'll be finished. You've now restored 100% strength to the windshield and made it look 80 to 90% better. This is the after picture, and this is what it looked like before and after.